And of course, you've got another smashed quarter right here. That's honestly bad enough to move it from the top 5 things I hate about our JL to the #1 thing that sucks on the brand new JL, and it's the rear OEM factory steel bumper. It's useless. As far as protecting the rear end of your Jeep, it's useless. If anything, it does more damage than it does good. All right, so you get one guess to figure out what Kevin and I finally got for our JL. Ta-da! Not only after all these months and all this complaining have Kevin and I got a new rear bumper from Motobilt, but we also got Motobilt's license plate relocation bracket. Finally, no more complaining, no more ripping our license plate off, no more dragging that bracket on the ground and mangling our rear bumper. We don't have to worry when we're driving down the highway anymore if we lost our license plate back on the last trail. We've got it covered once and for all. Thank you to Motobilt. And lucky for us, the install is insanely easy. Now, for those of you who haven't been following our channel or are new to the channel, it's pretty easy to see why we need this relocation bracket and this new rear bumper. You can see where the bumper itself has been flexing up into the quarter panel, destroying the paint here, which Kevin and I will have to take care of at a later date. Right now, we really just want to get the bumper on. And then, of course, the license plate relocation bracket is sort of a no-brainer and kind of speaks for itself. So we're excited. Let's get it installed. I'll show you guys what you need in order to get the job done. Okay, so for the rear bumper, you're gonna need a 16mm socket for your smaller bolts and a 13/16 socket for your larger bolts. I have a shallow socket and a deep socket, plus my drills if you so choose to use them. But first things first, rear license plate bracket. I have to go through and take out all of these screws that Kevin and I drilled in just to keep this thing attached when we were on the trails. You can see one here, there's several down here, there's one up here in this corner. There were 2 here, but those broke loose and fell out at some point. So yeah, first things first, let's get the bracket off. Will it go that deep in?
That's what she said. Wait, no, that's what he said. No, that's what she said. Look at you, like a pro.
It's like I've almost done this before or something. Now for the license plate itself. This license plate is like a month old, by the way. It looks like a friggin' velociraptor attacked it. Ridiculous. But, lucky for us, it's an easy way to fix that. There you go.
Looks like bacon fenders on Volkswagens.
I don't have bacon fenders on my Volkswagen, thank you very much. Alright, so that is good as new. Let's move on to the bracket itself. Oh God, how are we? We're gonna have to pry it out. And Kevin, of course, didn't clean off the Jeep before he had me do this. So as you can see, there's plenty of dirt that's just ready and primed to fall on my face as I do this. You should be wearing safety glasses, but I'm impatient and I don't feel like getting up to go get them.
And I'm filming, so I can't get them.
Oh God, come on.
You wanna?
That is like in there. Hold on.
You want a crowbar?
Jesus.
Look at you.
Christ.
Superwoman over here.
Well, I feel like there's another bolt there somewhere. Or do we actually have a tab that hasn't broken yet? There. I can't believe we had one tab that was, look. Oh, well, it's not intact anymore.
Oh, you broke the tab?
I just broke it.
Good job.
Whoops. This is why we're getting a relocation bracket. All right, so there's your plug. And this can go in the garbage. So the next thing you're going to want to do is pull off the bolts that attach the side bracket to the frame, which actually uses a 16mm. So we're going to put the 16mm on our drill and take those off. 2 on one side and then 2 on the other. So a good thing to note here is that if you haven't already pulled the fender liner extension off the back side of the Jeep, you're gonna have to do that. Obviously we had to do it to fit 38s, so it's already gone, but you may have to take that off if you haven't already, so keep that in mind. All right, now once you've got all 4 bracket bolts taken off, there's 2 16s underneath as well. You can find those right here and right there. 2 bolts. So now you've got 4 13/16 bolts. 2 on this side here, 2 on this side. You're not gonna be able to get a drill in there, so you're gonna have to use the deep socket on a ratchet for the top and then the short socket on the bottom. Now be prepared to take a minute getting these bolts out because they are comically long. I have no idea why these are so long. We've got these 2. Kevin got those 2 out. Next up, you're gonna wanna unplug this harness up here and go ahead and knock out these 2 bolts holding in your tow hook. Tow hook. And for those of you who were worried that Kevin was putting me in imminent danger of the rear bumper falling on me, the rear bumper won't just fall and collapse on top of you as you're doing this. Now at this point, I'm gonna pass the reins over to Kev to actually pull the bumper itself off because he has bigger arms than me.
Yeah, look at all the dirt falling down.
So after a minute of useless pulling, we realized there's a little pin right here that prevents the bumper from pulling out. So you do actually have to take this bracket off, which means this nut and that nut, which Kevin's working on the second one now.
So now, should come off.
Yeah.
So now that we have the old bumper off, you can actually see just how much damage the OEM bumper did to the body of our Jeep. Obviously, we've all been able to see this for months now, how it constantly flexes up into the quarter. What we haven't been able to see is this. Holy crap. That's ridiculous. The fact that and it's a steel bumper. For some reason, a lot of people assume that Kevin and I have plastic bumpers. We don't. We have factory steel bumpers. And even those are so flimsy, or at least the rear bumper is so flimsy that it's completely destroyed the bottom of our quarter panels. In addition to the edge of the quarter, you can also see the back end here. It's completely chipped the paint, dented in the body right here, as well as over on this side as well. And of course, you've got another smashed quarter right here. That is ridiculous. That's honestly bad enough to move it from the top 5 things I hate about our JL to the #1 thing that sucks on the brand new JL, and it's the rear OEM factory steel bumper. It's useless. As far as protecting the rear end of your Jeep, it's useless. If anything, it does more damage than it does good. That's a little bit better. That's not okay. I don't know if there's really anything we can do to this corner. I mean, that's like folded in. Golly, and I thought this was bad. Jesus. That's probably the most damage we've sustained to the Jeep. It's from the factory steel bumper. And all that damage is from these brackets right here, flexing up into the quarter. Seriously, for a steel bumper, that's unacceptable. The downside is now we do have to paint those parts of the Jeep so that it doesn't rust in the future. And also because pretty sure with the Motobilt rear bumper, you'll be able to see those sections. So it's kind of unfortunate because it's pretty bad. Oh well, I mean, it's body damage, it's character, but it wasn't damage that you sustained happily. It was damage you sustained because unfortunately the factory component couldn't hold up to it. Yeah, we'll see what the Motobilt one covers and what we should paint, what we shouldn't. Oh, look at that. I say it barely kind of covers those corner sections, so we might be able to get away with just spray painting them black for the time being until we can get some factory matching paint. This is just to keep it from rusting until we can get something better on it. So Motobilt provides everything you need to install their bumper. If you look right here on the driver's side, you can see where there's actually threaded mounting points, but if you look over on your passenger side, there are not. So Motobilt provides this that slides right in there, and it uses 7/8 bolts to thread in. All right, so once you've got the bumper slid on, use your 7/8. I've already got them started. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten the bolts. I'm not gonna torque them down just yet. Excuse me, Mr. Exhaust Pipe. All right, next up are these side bolts right up here.
Real men start them with a drill. With an impact.
It's a good thing I'm not a man.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so once you have all the bolts in and you've got the bumper situated, you can go back through and tighten everything down. And now we can torque them down. And just like that, we have a brand new rear bumper. But before I showcase that in all its beautiful glory, we're gonna go ahead and knock out the license plate relocation bracket. Now keep in mind the steps that we take to get this thing mounted on may vary just a little bit from y'all's, simply because we do have a Smitty-built relocation bracket from when we had 35s and 37s already installed. So just keep that in mind. But first up for us is going ahead and taking out all of these gold bolts. Okay, so 2 things you should know. First off, we went ahead and took out these 2 Torx bit screws, they're T25s, and we went ahead and pulled out our plugs from the tailgate. That way, we've got nothing impeding us from taking it all the way off. The next step is to get the camera out. We figured out a hammer is probably the best and easiest way to get this. There it goes. Just like that. And I think the easiest way to probably get this out is to pull the wires out individually, like so. And then you can shimmy out the casing. There you go. All right, we're gonna flip it over one more time. And I've already gone ahead and taken these bolts out so I can pry this off. So go ahead and take a flathead and put it underneath and pull out. There's your camera, all your wires. And for now, we'll set all this aside. Now it's just pulling off the relocation bracket itself as well. All right, and there goes that. So now it's time to go and get your teensy weensy T8 Torx bit in order to get these little bitty screws out, which will therefore let you get your rear view camera out. Luckily, I own a Volkswagen, so I own Torx bits in just about every size you could need and or imagine. Now once you have the backup camera uninstalled, Motobilt provides this handy dandy tiny little bracket that you can use that works in tandem with their license plate relocation bracket so that you can continue to use your backup camera. At this point though, you do have to break out the drill bit because we do need to drill these little holes here a little bit bigger, a 1/8 drill bit to be exact. Next up, you're gonna grab this, which this mounts perfectly into, like that. Ta-da! All right, now let's mount the whole bracket up. As you can see, we've already taken the liberty of mounting our mangled ass license plate onto the bracket. And what I'm gonna do is go ahead and finger thread these 2 up top on just to keep it steady and go from there. By doing these just finger tight, it also gives you the opportunity to pull this bottom half away so you can feed all of the plugs and the wiring through here. As you can see, all I did was go ahead and zip tie up all that extra cord, including the plug for the 3rd brake light, which I think Kevin and I will probably use later on. We just haven't quite figured out what we want to do with it. I think we have an idea though. But in the meantime, zip tied it up out of the way. That way we don't have a ton of excess cord hanging out off the side. This grommet goes back in place there and everything will bolt back up. Okay, and our license plate bracket is installed. there you guys have it. It's pretty simple. Probably takes about an hour or two, or if you're filming, maybe 5 hours. But it is really easy to do. Why we picked the license plate bracket is pretty obvious. Everyone who's seen any of our videos knows all of the trouble and all the hassle we've had with that OEM license plate mounting bracket, how many times we've ripped it off, how many times our poor license plate has been mangled. But the bumper itself, if you're familiar to off-roading, it's pretty easy to see why we chose it as well. Obviously, the quarter panels were our biggest issues. You guys saw just how badly damaged our quarters were due to the stock steel bumper. This provides all the protection you need on the quarter while also giving you a lot of clearance on those departure angles. So we're hoping, A, we won't hit it as much, and even if we do, it'll protect the quarter like a steel bumper is supposed to. So there you have it, Motobilt's steel bumper and their license plate bracket. These things are incredible. It's pretty simple to see why we chose them. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments below. I know one question a lot of people are gonna have involves a spare tire. And the answer is yes, we still plan on bringing a spare tire with us, just not on the tailgate. Between the weight of the beadlocks, the weight of the 38s, we're still just not comfortable that the Mopar reinforcement kit is gonna really be able to handle that without causing potential damage to the tailgate. So instead, we're gonna be running our spare tire inside the Jeep should we need it when we're going to and from the trails. And in the meantime, we're gonna leave our tailgate intact in one piece, not bending or buckling. And for us, that just seems like the best option. Now, if you guys have any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And of course, we will see you next time. Bye. Not only have we, oh God, it's a bee crawling on my hand.
B-roll. There's your ending. There's your end video.
I was like, oh, something's crawling. I thought it was a leaf, and it definitely wasn't. All right. Damn, it scared the shit out of me.